Welcome to Liesel's Artistic Studio. With St. Patrick's Day right around the corner, I thought it would be fun and festive to show you some tips on painting realistic four-leaf clovers. And the fun part about these is that I have actually used real four-leaf clovers that I personally found as my reference for today's painting. And I'll actually show these to you in a few minutes. And trust me, I think you'll be surprised by my clover collection. So make sure you stick around to see it. Now, really quickly, before we get into painting these, some of you may or may not know that I have illustrated a handful of children's books. And one of the reasons I get so excited about St. Patrick's Day is because one of the books I have illustrated is this book called Finnegans' Leprechaun Luck. Now, when it comes to finding things, Finnegan McPhee has all the luck, but when Finnegan finds a leprechaun, his skills are put to the test after he accepts a challenge to find the leprechaun's pot of gold. Now, the story is so cute, and actually it also explains why the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow is so elusive, as well as why four-leaf clovers are lucky to find. Of course, I'm slightly partial to the pictures myself, but this book is for sale on Amazon, and right now it is actually priced at a discount for a limited time, and last year it actually ranked number 15 in Amazon's holiday book category, so that is pretty awesome. I'll leave a link for the book as well as a reading of the book in the description of this video if you'd like to check it out. All right, enough talk. Let's get to painting these clovers. For supplies today, we need a piece of watercolor paper cut to any desired size. Mine is cut to the size 5x7 because I plan to frame it when I'm done. Then, of course, we need a brush. I will be using a number 4 round brush. We need water, a paper towel, and watercolor paints. Now, sap green is usually my green go-to color, but today I wanted a brighter green, so I will be using permanent green mixed with Paynes gray to make it a shade darker, and raw sienna. I have already added water to this pigment, so my paints are ready to go. If you need details or more information on any of these products, you can find it by clicking on the description of this video. So with that being said, I often do show how to draw the items I paint, but I haven't done that today. So if you need extra help with that, just let me know. But they are not too hard to draw. You're basically going to draw 4 slightly heart-shaped leaves that connect together by the center point. They have a center vein line on each leaf, and then there will be a thin stem. All right, let's get started. Now, we will be painting these clovers in layers from light to dark. So for the first base layer, let's take some of this pure permanent green and add some extra water to it to thin and lighten the value of the paint. Then we'll use that lightened or watered down green and paint one of the heart-shaped leaves. Now, after the leaf is all painted with this green, and while the paint is still wet, rinse your brush off and take just a tiny bit of the raw sienna and dab a little bit of that color right into the center point, letting it blend into the leaf a little bit. Then if you want to, while the paint is still wet, you can also add some of that pure permanent green that we didn't water down right above the raw sienna and into the middle area of the leaf. Now, I added that green when the paint had started to dry at the top, so you'll notice a bit of a watermark start to form on that leaf, but that's okay. If that happens to you, we're going to be able to fix it later. I'm just going to work a little more quickly on the next leaf. Now go ahead and paint each of the remaining leaves using that same method. And just as a side note, this is a slightly faster paced video today. I might fast forward or skip a few parts just because a lot of the steps are pretty repetitious. After you've completed this first step to painting the leaves, then you can move on to painting the stem using some of the watered down green, and then if you want to, you can even add a touch of raw sienna at the top and the base of the stem to add a more realistic look. And if you haven't done it yet, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and turn on the notifications so you will never miss out on my weekly tutorials. Now go ahead and paint this second clover in the same way as you did the first, and then we can start adding in the steps that turn these simple clovers into a realistic masterpiece. Great job! Now let's start adding in some of those realistic details. So for this next part, we will actually be lifting out a little bit of color using our brush, some water, and a paper towel. So get just the tip of your brush wet with water. You really don't need very much. And then draw a thin line of water right where the center vein is on the leaf. Let that sit for a second, then take your paper towel and dab off the water. And you'll see that some of the color has also been removed where the water was painted on. Now I'm also going to take off some of the color in the center area of the leaf, following the shape of the heart curve at the top. This is where I can sort of smooth out that harsh watermark that I accidentally made earlier. Now I'll use that same paint lifting method on each leaf. It's really fun to see the added detail that this super simple technique can create. It's already starting to look more realistic. Okay, we are now ready for a second layer of detail paint on here. So let's take some of this permanent green that's been mixed with the Paynes gray, or in other words, the dark green. Let's put some of that color into the tray and add a little bit of water just to lighten it up a little bit more. Now take some of that green and paint in small sections of color on each leaf. This color is only going to be painted on one half of the leaf. I'm choosing to do the bottom section of each leaf. And it will be painted in between and around the white marks we just made. I'm also making sure not to cover up the little bit of brown in the center area. You may not be able to tell very well, but it's important to note that I'm not painting this all the way to the leaf's edge. There will be a little bit of a border with that first and lighter layer of color. Now to add some extra dimension to the stems, take some of that dark green color and paint on a very thin line of green off to one side of each stem for a shadowed look. Then we'll add some of this unwatered down, pure permanent green and fill in the other half of each leaf in the same way as we just barely did. And while we work on painting this part, I'll put up in the corner of the screen a short video of my Clover collection book. It is such a fun and relaxing hobby of mine to search for 4, 5, and sometimes even 6-leaf clovers in the summertime. And in this book, I've pasted some of my favorites. I was curious a while back at how many I actually have in here, and so I decided to count them and discovered I had over 300. Okay, for the final step and finishing touch to this painting, our third small layer will be painted with our darkest color, permanent green mixed with Paynes gray that has not been watered down too much and is very deep, rich, and dark in value and color. Now we will not be using a lot of this color, just small amounts, and I am not painting the whole section with this color like I did before. This is just an accent. Now, This will only be painted on sections of the leaf that are on the bottom half or the area nearest to the bottom of the page. In other words, these are the parts that would be more in the shadow. And that's all there is to it for an easy, beautiful, and realistic four-leaf clover painting. Perfect for a St. Patrick's Day decoration or card to give away. And don't forget to order your own copy of my illustrated book, Finnegans Leprechaun Luck, today so that you can have a fun new story to read for the upcoming holiday. Thank you so much for watching today. If you enjoyed this tutorial, please consider subscribing to my channel so I can continue to help you discover your artistic side.